Just finished watching the finale of Survivor. Had a little video I wanted to do. We'll do another one here in front of the Christmas tree about Dune prophecy. I had read some stuff where a lot of people are talking about the character of Desmond Hart. For those of you who don't want to know any spoilers about the series, you probably shouldn't watch this until you get caught up on the show. But there's been a lot of talk about the character of Desmond Hart, and there's a theory apparently with a lot of fans, which I've never quite understood, where they feel that Desmond Hart is possibly a ghola. For those of you who are familiar with the books, this is kind of a clone that's made from some genetic material, even just a scraping of some cells from someone, and you can basically grow a clone of that person, and eventually, as they hit puberty, kind of through traumatic experiences, you can bring out the memories of the host, of the original person. I won't get into some of the stuff that goes on in the books later on, because it might spoil things for some people who haven't read them. Though anyone who has a little bit of knowledge of the series knows that the character of Duncan Idaho in the original Dune book, he ends up coming back quite frequently as a ghola, and the God Emperor of Dune has a great affinity for him and keeps bringing him back. Those of you who have read all the books, I mean, not just the original ones that Frank Herbert did, but the ones that his son did, which not only some of the ones that had happened before the original Dune book, which is what Dune prophecy is based on, the sisterhood of Dune, but also the later ones where he really tied up the whole story, and the Kwisatz Haderach and so forth, and who understand the importance of why Leto, or the God Emperor of Dune, kept bringing Duncan back. You'll understand the importance of that, and why some people, looking at the way the character of Desmond Hart in Dune prophecy is portrayed, you can tell just by the way he looks and his hair and everything, that they're trying to make him look a lot like the character of Duncan as portrayed in these latest Dune movies. That same basic vibe from who is he? The Aquaman guy. Going for that same look and so forth. So a lot of people have wondered, in the series Dune Prophecy, Desmond Hart survived an encounter with the sandworm. And so apparently for some reason this made some people think that maybe he was a ghola, and that perhaps, I don't know if they're thinking that he died, and then the people who created the gholas, that particular race of people, maybe did something to bring him back. But I've never quite understood that. First of all, we're talking about 10,000 years before the gholas were introduced, really, in the Frank Herbert's universe. And I don't see the need for that anyways. The latest revelations about that character, I think, really tell us where he lies in the Dune universe and in that story. We find out at the end of the latest episode that he is the son of Tula Harkonnen and Atreides. So he has the Atreides bloodline and the Harkonnen bloodline. Anybody who has even a passing familiarity with the later Dune novels knows that even in the first Dune movie, those of you who've seen that lately, even if that's your first introduction to the Dune universe, you know that the Bene Gesserit sisterhood was obsessed with this combination of the Atreides and the Harkonnen bloodlines in their quest to create the Kwisatz Haderach. And I think what we're really seeing here in Dune prophecy is the origin of that obsession with the Bene Gesserit, because we're seeing this guy who has the Atreides and the Harkonnen bloodlines, and he has certain abilities and powers, prescience, the ability to avoid some of the, things like the voice being used on him and so forth, that would give the Bene Gesserit reason to focus on a combination of those two bloodlines, which is an obsession that we see 10,000 years later in Dune, where they're getting close to the arrival of the Kwisatz Haderach. And I think that the character of Desmond Hart really is just there to kind of show us why the Bene Gesserit became so obsessed with that particular bloodline. All the way through all the novels, right up until the very end, far in the future, there's that obsession with the Atreides bloodline and the prescience that can arise. There's a lot of talk in the Dune novels, or these leaders, Dune movies, kind of making the Bene Gesserit look evil, where they created all this religious stuff to enslave people and control them. But if you really read all those later Dune novels, all this stuff was real, okay? If you take it all the way to the very end, where the true identity of the Kwisatz Haderach is revealed far in the future, which ties in a lot of storylines going all the way back, to what we're seeing here with the war against the machines, the Butlerian Jihad and all that. Far, far, far in the future, after the original Dune novels, in the ones that were written by Frank Herbert's son, that all gets resolved and you see where it's going. But if you look at Paul Atreides' son, he has the ability to communicate with the sandworms. And I think with Desmond Hart possibly having that same kind of capability or power is where we're going with that character, that I think that the sisterhood, which later becomes the Bene Gesserit, they got a glimpse of the power of a certain combination of those bloodlines with the Atreides and the Harkonnen, and they've been pursuing it for a long, long time. And I think really that's the importance of that character in this Dune universe. The whole ghola thing I've never quite understood. I guess people were thinking that just because he apparently survived the sandworm attack, and that apparently he came back, from the dead, supposedly. I think it's quite possible that it's just that he had this certain combination of Atreides and Harkonnen genes that gave him certain powers that the sisterhood is going to spend 10,000 years now trying to recreate, only with someone that they can control. That's always been their thing. Even with Paul Atreides, when they tested him, they wondered, but will he be ours to control? And if you read the books, you talk about the wild Atreides genes and so forth. So that's just my take on it. I never quite understood why people thought that Desmond Hart was a ghola and trying to work that in, but I think it's just much more likely that he's the one who gives the Bene Gesserit sisterhood a glimpse of what the Atreides and Harkonnen genes together can be, and that takes us all the way through the rest of the Dune series. Anyways, my 2 cents.